The Jersey City LGBTQ community had a chance to meet Democratic gubernatorial candidates State Senator Ray Lesniak, Assemblyman John Wisniewski, former U.S. Treasury Department official Jim Johnson, and political newcomer Paul Binetti at a town hall event at the Transmission Lounge. Co-hosted by Garden State Equality and Jersey City Stands, with LGBTQ activist Michael Billy serving as the moderator, Johnson said during the early portion of the program that his first actions as governor would include state ethics reform.
I would actually start before day one. I served on the transitions for Governor McGreevey, then for Governor Corzine, and then I took time off and spent 3 months working full-time on the transition for President Obama. What you do actually before you take office determines what happens on day one. For me, one of the first things that needs to happen in this state is that we need to have serious ethics reform, because without true ethics and democracy, all of the things we want to achieve are going to be held up the way they've been held up for so many years. Issues like the $15 minimum wage held up not because it was bad policy, but because people had other priorities. Priorities like making sure that Governor Christie had an opportunity to write a book after Bridgegate. But it's that sort of thing where we have a government that's not responsive to the people.
On the topic of avoiding gerrymandering, Wisniewski stated he plans on using the model employed in California that includes a permanent citizens redistricting committee.
And I'm working on draft legislation now that would use the model that has been successfully employed in California, where they have a permanent citizens redistricting committee. The good news in that is it takes legislators off that process, it takes politicians off that process, and turns it over to citizens. And the news is this, is that people were worried that if we did that in California, we would have a less progressive legislature. And the fact of the matter is that panel actually produced a even more, you can imagine California having an even more progressive legislature. It did just that, and that's what I'm proposing to do in New Jersey.
While Assemblyman Reed Gusiora is not running for governor, he served as a surrogate for Phil Murphy and argued that a candidate should not automatically be disqualified due to wealth. However, Wisniewski and Binetti, the latter the manager of popular gay club Feathers in River Edge, were both unimpressed and fired shots at Murphy.
Recall that some of our greatest Democrats, FDR, JFK, Mike Bloomberg, who's really a Democrat, have been very successful in spite of their wealth. And I know that Ambassador Murphy hails from Goldman Sachs, but he's the one who knows how to reinvest in the cities. We need people who have the industrial capacity to invest in those cities. This governor has been completely absent, especially for the cities, and so I don't rule out somebody just because they have wealth that they don't know how to run the state.
And you've heard this before. It's time we had somebody come in from outside to clean things up, right? That's what we got in Washington, D.C. But we've had that here in New Jersey. John Corzine ran, our first Goldman Sachs governor, ran 12 years ago saying, you know what, I'm an outsider. Elect me. I'll make New Jersey better. And he did such a good job that 4 years later, we put Chris Christie in.
Can somebody worth $250 million, can they understand the struggles of an everyday person like myself, like you? No. There's no way. They don't walk the streets we walk. They don't do the things we do. Phil Murphy is buying this election. He is spreading his wealth around. He is buying everything he possibly can. He is spreading his money wherever he can to do it, to bump out everyone else on the stage behind us.
Lesniak, a longtime ally of the LGBTQ community, explained that he would fully support educational programs about the struggles of LGBTQ youth.
Some of the most heartbreaking stories I've ever heard have been about LGBT folks who have been rejected by their families. Matter of fact, David Mixner told me about how he was asked by his friend who was dying to tell his parents he was dying of AIDS, tell his parents to come to see him. And then he had to tell them that they refused. They refused. One of the most heartbreaking stories I've ever heard. I've had just recently two families whose one son and one daughter came out, young, youth, and they were just, of course, it was just like nothing happened. They were just embraced by them. So acceptance is so important for protection.
On the same topic, Binetti, who is openly gay, said it's not just the youth who need to be educated, but all age groups, especially those in power.
Last week in school, and I won't say what school district he's in, goes to school, and they were joking around. And they were dancing like normal kids do. He's 11. The teacher turned to him and said, "Stop acting gay." The teacher. He was offended. And he went home and he was crying. And my sister goes, "Why are you crying?" He goes, "The teacher told me to stop acting gay." My sister goes, "For what?" He goes, "It wasn't about what I was doing." He goes, "But I want to be like Uncle Paulie." Wasn't teaching gay, but he looks up to me. And he has been another son to me, and I love him dearly, and I treat him, and I spoil him, and then his mother yells at me. But it was the teacher, so yes, we can teach the children from the beginning. We can teach them from when they're young. But we also have to teach tolerance to the people who are older, and the ones that are in power, to make them understand.
I'm John Heides with the Hudson County View, the eye of the community.